Saddle hunting for me has been a complete, and I hate even saying the word, game changer for how I like to hunt. If you've been thinking about getting into a saddle, now is the exact perfect time to do it. You have the entire spring and summer to kind of dangle in the backyard and get prepared for the upcoming season, be able to practice all your shots, getting in and out of the tree, experiment with your different climbing options that you have to lighten your load and be more mobile. If you're interested in getting hooked up and getting into a saddle, I would definitely be checking out Tethered. They have two great saddles out. One is the new Phantom saddle, which is killer, has a bunch of new comfort features that are built into it, as well as a utilibridge to kind of help with lengthening and shortening the bridge to make sure you have the optimum comfort. And you can get the OG, as I like to refer to it, that I've been doing my hunting out of the past couple of years, which is the Mantis saddle. I might also recommend the Predator platform, especially if you're transitioning from a tree stand to a saddle. It just gives you that little bit sense of familiarity that you would have with a platform under your feet that you would have that would be similar to a tree stand, and it made my transition a couple years ago really seamless from tree stand hunting to saddle hunting. So if you're interested in checking out more about saddle hunting in general, I would head over to tetherednation.com, check out all their products. They have some killer YouTube videos. You will thank me later. The first thing I do in the morning before a hunt, before a scout, or just before getting ready for work is have my morning coffee, and I'm sure most of you out there listening are the same. Make sure you're filling your mug with Skull Brew coffee, as it is the only coffee company that is both 2% for conservation certified and donates 10% of its profits to conservation organizations to help secure the future of our wild places. So head to skullbrewcoffee.com and choose between 3 killer roasts of coffee and know that you are supporting conservation with every sip. Welcome to the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Skull Brew Coffee Company. I'm your host, Clint Campbell, and you're listening to episode number 179. Today I'm joined by my good buddy, Wilson Mcswain, and we're talking Wyoming turkeys and the challenges of suburban whitetail hunting. So stay tuned. All right. What is happening, folks? Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you are doing well. Hope you are feeling fine. Hope everyone had a fantastic Memorial Day holiday. First and foremost, I want to say thanks. Thank you to all the servicemen and women out there that make not just this holiday great, but make this the country that we live in great. It's been some odd times lately, of course, but just want to make sure that we, remember those that made sacrifices for us to have those freedoms that we do have, and that we have that are continuing to be worth fighting for. So just want to make sure I mention that before we get started. A couple cool things today, man, that I want to mention. First and foremost, or not first and foremost, I already had a first and foremost. Really exciting. Just go ahead and kind of get it out of the way and mention it. So, as you know, if you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, I've done this series of DIY report mini-series episodes, which have, thanks to you guys, we've had a great response to those. I feel like they were really kind of cool and helpful, breaking kind of maybe more conceptual, harder ideas down into smaller bite-sized chunks to where folks can take those things, digest them, and then be able to apply them into timber or on their hunts. So in that same spirit, I was actually having a conversation with Dan Enfalt, the hunting beast himself, kind of talking about a next session of possible series. And what we're going to end up doing is there's going to be a series of Hunting Beast and Truth from the Stand kind of collaborative podcasts that are going to come out. Don't know the exact number, probably anywhere from 3 to 5. And the reason I'm announcing this is because these are all going to be strictly listener questions answered by the hunting beast, Dan Enfalt himself. We may at some point have on, another member of the beast to help answer some questions. I'll of course be there adding my 2 cents as well. And then the kicker is that we're going to select folks out there that are listeners. One for each episode to actually come on the podcast with Dan and I and be part of the podcast itself, which we thought would be really cool. I mean, you guys do, Dan's crew supports him like crazy, and you guys have been listening to this podcast for years and supporting me, in this format. And so it's just kind of a way we wanted to give back and answer questions that folks might have, about things that, they might hear about, like whether it's on the Hunting Beast forum, whether it's watching Dan's DVDs or things you've heard on this podcast or whatever the case is. We just thought it'd be a really cool way because Dan's got a lot of knowledge to share that I don't think, that's a mystery or, shocking to hear. But a lot of times on podcasts, he gets asked a lot of the same questions over and over. And I've tried to, when I've had him on, I've tried to ask questions a little bit differently or maybe go a little bit deeper with him on a topic or whatever the case is. But at the same time, it's like, I still am coming up with these questions and thoughts, from the perspective of where I'm at as a hunter and the things that I want to know and things that I'm interested in kind of hearing from him. And I'm trying to, channel you guys out there listening and trying to figure out what it is that you might want to hear from him as well. So with that, we decided, the best thbe to do would probably just be like, let's throw it to the crew. Let's throw it to you guys and see what you want to know about, and send questions in. And so what we're going to do is after this podcast comes out, I'm going to send out a post on, Instagram and Facebook and in Instagram stories. And I'm going to lay out the topic, and so we're going to, I think there's going to be roughly 5 topics is I think what our plan is. And I'm looking at my notes here right now to figure out. So I think the topics that we're going to do, so we're going to do one podcast that's going to be related to wind and thermals. We're going to do another podcast that's, related to bed hunting. We're going to do another one that's related to just like aggressive tactics in general, probably leaning more toward public land tactics. A little bit of early season hunting, rut hunting, and then a session on reading maps and topo. And so what I'll essentially do is send out a post on social media asking for folks to submit questions. You can submit them in the comments, you can submit them in responding in the stories, whatever the case is. And then what Dan and I are going to do is just randomly select someone who entered a question and choose that person to then come on to that related podcast with us. So for example, if you sent in a question and asked, what is a thermal hub, or tell me a little bit about how you would set up using in a thermal hub, or would you hunt a thermal hub, or whatever the case is, that would be your question you would submit for the wind and thermals conversation. And then we would see however many questions we have. Say there's 100 questions. We would then go in and randomly pick one of those people out of that 100 to come on the podcast and join us for that record and be part of the show. So it's just our little way of giving back. I'm looking forward to this session a lot. I really enjoy the listener Q&A sessions that I've done in the past, whether it was with John and I or Chad and I, we've done them with, Cody DeQuisto in the past and stuff like that. Those are always a lot of fun. And there's always questions that come up that we just didn't think about. And it not only is, helpful for whomever's asking the question, but a lot of times we get questions that sometimes we haven't thought about for a while. And it's just a good reminder, or maybe it's something we've not thought about at all. And it's helping us kind of learn and put puzzle pieces together at the same time. So be sure to be on the lookout for that post and get involved if you want a chance to be on the show with the Hunting Beast, Dan Enfalt, and myself. So with that, just some quick housekeeping here before we get into today's episode. One, I have cemented the plans for the fall, so I'm super stoked about that. We hit this Memorial Day holiday. It's kind of like the milestone marker for it's time to get ready to grind on whitetails. It's camera placement and getting all those things kind of ready and start really locking in plans for the fall. And so right now, everything is confirmed. I will be in Missouri the first week of November. Actually, for that week, I'll actually have a camera guy with me for the week, all public land. This is a little a film project for some folks that I work with, which is the reason why I'll have the camera guy with me. So I'm really looking forward to that. Have a couple pieces of public kind of picked out, which is kind of why I've been building the travel trailer and stuff like that, because that's going to be my rig for the fall, because it'll be Missouri the first week in November. And then right after I wrap that hunt up, I think I'm in Missouri the 1st through the 7th, I think. And then I'm in Ohio, like the 8th through whatever it is, the 15th or 16th, whatever the case is, like another 7-8 days. And so that's kind of going to be my plans for the fall. And of course, Pennsylvania, in the middle of September, through the end of October. So pretty pumped that everything for that has been nailed down. I know what I'm doing. So now it's just time to kind of focus on reading maps and getting ready, because I don't know that I'm going to have a chance to get to Missouri. There's an off chance that I may get out there for a long weekend to do some scouting. But the plan as it stands right now, I would say is probably 75% that I'm going to be going out blind and just freelance hunting the entire week in Missouri. So that should be really cool. Looking forward to that. So with that, I'm not gonna take up too much more of your time on this up front. We'll get kind of jumped into the podcast. But before I do that, just make mention that Skull Brew Coffee is running a promo right now for the Memorial Day holiday. There's a discount on the site, skullbrewcoffee.com. You don't need a promo code. Just go there, re-up whatever supply you need, or if you've not tried it, this is a great chance to try. We have 3 different roasts. Check those out. And then whenever you go to checkout, a discount will automatically be applied to your shopping cart. So with that, we'll go ahead and get jumped into today's show. I have my buddy Wilson Mcswain on with me. I've had him on in the past. He's my buddy that lives here close by. We do a fair amount of hunting together. He's a really passionate turkey hunter, so we talk a little bit about turkey hunting. He took a kind of last minute, trip to Wyoming, just like off the cuff. Like one day I called him and he was like, "Hey, I'm in Wyoming." And I saw him like a day and a half before that. So he went out there and chased some birds, had a really cool hunt, and did some trout fishing while he was out there and stuff. Had a great time out west. And then has been back here chasing birds ever since. And actually, I think as I'm recording this, I think he's actually in New York chasing birds over this long weekend. So we talk a little bit about that. And then we talk more specifically about hunting small kind of suburban parcels of public land and knock on door access, because that's a lot of what Wilson hunts is knock on door access and public land, of course. And these are all of the small parcel variety. And so we talk a lot about the challenges that kind of come along with that. And you can imagine the challenges that come along with it just in terms of like the sheer size of some of those pieces being really, really small. But there's also like the social kind of challenges that you have of trying to get deer in and out of small woodlots behind people's houses and stuff like that, or being parked at a gas station, having blood all over the back of your car because you don't drive a truck and the deer's in your trunk, and like the things that kind of happen and cops stopping you and just all kinds of weird stuff that happens whenever you hunt in some of these kind of small, little suburban kind of woodlots. So with that, we'll go ahead and hop into the podcast. And as always, thank you all for listening. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast. And today I got my buddy, you know him, you love him, the mustached man, the turkey talker, Mr. Wilson Mcswain, hailing from the great state of Washington by way of Pennsylvania recently.
Yes.
The past couple of years.
I'm still confused at how I got to Pennsylvania, but I'm living with it.
I'm confused at how you got to Pennsylvania, too, because you were in Washington.
Yeah.
And then you were in Colorado.
Yep.
And talk about 2 like killer outdoor states.
I went uphill and then I went downhill.
You went downhill figuratively and literally.
No offense to people in Pennsylvania, but I do like it for the most part.
For the most part. Well, I mean, you had a good reason to make those transitions. You have a lovely wife,
yes,
whose family is here, so that's the reason for
free babysitting.
Free babysitting is quite a compelling feature whenever it comes to states well, that's honestly how we made our way back here. It's like, I ain't gonna lie, we were on our way. I think I've told this story before. We were on our way to Colorado because I had a job opportunity. So little backstory. When I was in college, I went to school for advertising and marketing. And like most things that I get into, I get like way into them or whatever. And so I was reading like all these ad books and stuff like that. And there was this guy named Alex Bogusky who was kind of like the big creative like thought leader like in the space. Like he was doing all like the big, all the really cool like Volkswagen ads and like subservient chicken, like
cool Volkswagen ads.
Well, yeah, I mean, like when you're advertising,
no,
it's like they had a lot of creative like liberties and freedoms that they would be able to do cool stuff. They did the subservient chicken like Burger King ad, and they did like the whole King, like that was their idea. Like,
cool.
So they were doing interesting creative stuff, and then outside of that, like the nerd side, like the data side, that they were doing really cool like digital stuff before like digital was really easier to implement. Yep. It used to be a lot harder to execute those things, and now it's much easier. Long story short, I wanted to go work for that agency in the worst way because it was in Boulder. I snowboarded, you know what I mean? It was like, it's a cool spot, very outdoorsy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hunting would be great, like in the general area, like you're in Colorado. So it's like anything outdoors I wanted to do, I could do.
Yeah.
And I was looking for job/internship, and I had a connection with Crispin, Porter, and Bogusky in Boulder that someone who went through my same ad program. And so my professor like hooked me up with this person. Her name is Emily Smeraldo. I've never met her face to face. She actually
Shout
lives
out to Emily.
Yeah, she actually lives in Philly. Oddly enough, like,
Okay.
we've never run into each other. And she was a copywriter there, and so she hooked me up with her, and she was like, you're interested in coming out and work. I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And so it's a really hard place to get an internship / job, because the way a lot of places work is like, especially big places like that, they do a lot of like really heavy talent acquisition where they kind of bring in a group of people and they give you a job and they don't pay you a whole lot, but they basically run you through the ringer and like as an internship. And then if you kind of, cut the mustard, so to speak, then like it's very likely that you'll get a job at the end of your time or whatever. Not all agencies are like that, but that one was like that. Did an interview. It was great. I was getting the opportunity to go out and do the internship, get paid, and then have a job opportunity waiting at the end. And then I had an offer in Philly, and we ended up staying in Pennsylvania because my wife and I were apart for like 6 months whenever she moved up here, because we were getting ready to sell our house in Orlando and we knew we were going to move, and I didn't want them, like, because we just had our daughter. And so I didn't want those two being in Orlando by themselves with no family if I got an opportunity somewhere and had to leave for 6 months or whatever. So we'd already been apart for like however long. So at that point, whenever I got the opportunity in Philly, I was like, I think we should just be closer to family. I was like, I think it'll make the transition easier than moving like halfway across the country again, like with a 2-year-old, probably not the best idea.
No. Yeah.
So I gave up like my goal job, for my career or whatever, and then moved to Philadelphia instead, and been happy about it ever since.
Yeah. No, I'm happy in Pennsylvania. It was the same thing.
Mine was with a hint of sarcasm, but I'm just kidding.
I'm happy too. We got married and lived in Seattle for a year, and then we always said if we started having kids, we would be closer to her family. There's a special connection, mom and daughter kind of deal. So but it's been awesome. Yeah. The only time I don't like it is in the summer. Mm-hmm. Summer's my favorite time of year to relax and hang. Is the humidity is out of control.
It's crazy. Yeah. People that don't live in
Pennsylvania. I did not understand it. Like, people came for my wedding. I got married in July, and it was like 85 degrees and like 100 and bazillion% humidity. People were, I felt so bad for my grandma. I was like, you're going to come to my wedding and die.
Right. It's like, we're going to have a wedding and a funeral.
Yeah.
All at the same time.
They're like, great. But the lightning bugs in the summer are beautiful. I'm like, who cares? I'm dying here.
I know, man. I'm like, I'll trade the lightning bugs. It's cool for a little bit of that's the funny thing, man. People don't think of Pennsylvania as being like hot and humid, man. But during the summer, it gets gnarly. Now, me living in Orlando for as long as I did, like, it's nothing like that. That's like ridiculous. But it's I've been back long enough now that I have an appreciation again for the humidity that we have here. I remember when I first moved back, I was like, man, you guys don't know humidity. Like, you kidding me? It's like whatever. It's like I wake up at 7:00 in the morning and it's already like 88 degrees with like 95% humidity. It feels like you're swimming to your car in the morning.
Yep.
Like,
No, I always joke, but in all seriousness, when I scout in the summer, I will take my lawn chair and I wear my bathing suit and I have 2 thermocells and a big jug of iced tea, and I'll sit in glass because it's like 100 degrees and there's 1,000 bugs, and people drive by and they're like, what is that dude doing? Because I got thermocells smoking up on either side of me.
Right.
I got this big thing of iced tea, and I'm in my swimsuit.
That dude doesn't use a thermostat. She's got weed in that.
They're like, what? I had people stop, and because a lot of urban properties, so there's a couple high points where you can see neighboring properties.
Right.
And people are like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just, looking at deer. They're like, okay.
Those are probably the same neighbors that watch you continually stuff dead deer in the back of your trunk of your car. Now that you finally got a truck, you won't have to do that.
Yeah. Yep. I just got a truck a couple days ago. It's like, ever since I was like 4 years old, I wanted a red truck. To be specific, a Silverado, because my dad had one. And so I did the car game for a long time, and it's the first automatic I've owned myself for probably 10 years.
You're going to love it.
I've always had manuals, and I've driven it for the past couple of days, and I was like, I keep reaching for the clutch to shift. But I'm like looking for stuff to throw in the bed of my truck. I'm like, what can I put in here?
Yeah, you just want to haul stuff now. It's like, I remember, because I used to drive I used to drive manual vehicles like for most of my life. And then when I finally got a truck and got an automatic, it was like, I was like, why didn't I do this like so much earlier? Like, I hate shifting gears.
Yeah.
And what really cured me of that was like living and working in cities.
Oh yeah.
Like,
no good.
Even when we were in Orlando, it was like, had a a manual vehicle or whatever. It's like you're driving in I-4 traffic or whatever. And then when we moved up here, I still had a manual and I was working in the city and stuff like that. And it's just like, I was like, man, I felt like my left leg looked like a kicker's leg.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like all hulked out from all the shifting or whatever.
And it's embarrassing when you shoot a deer, and a lot of the places I hunt, like I go up and I'm like, hey, I shot a deer. I'm heading back to my car, and they're like, oh, just drive your car back there. Whether it's like a big, huge grass field or like someone's back lawn that I can drive, and I have to tell them, I can't take my car back there. I'll get stuck. And they're like, where are you going to put the deer? I'm like, oh, in the trunk. They're like,
where all the deer go.
Yeah, like it's where hunting season, I don't have anything in my trunk because I just have a tarp, and I stuff everything in my back seat because I got to be able to usually in urban areas, you got to get the deer out of sight like real fast.
Yeah.
I've had more cops called while hunting than any other thing because people are like, what's that guy in the woods with a headlamp, or what's that guy dragging through the woods at 1 a.m., if I have to let the deer sit for a little bit. So you got to get your trunk open, get the deer in there, and get out.
Yeah.
And you always feel like a criminal. You're not breaking any laws, but you just, in neighborhoods where you can hunt,
right,
it's always a little bit unnerving.
I feel like there's a good YouTube video in that's like a spin-off of like a spoof on Pulp Fiction whenever he shot Marvin in the face in the car and they had to call the wolf to come in. You know what I mean? And they put him in the trunk and they clean up the car and like whatever. I feel like there's a really good whitetail YouTube video there to be made.
Yeah. The worst was I was at hunting a property where the guy was like, hey, if you kill 2 or 3 does, then you can hunt bucks. So I go in there. He goes, there's an old tree stand. So he tells me kind of where this tree stand is. Like he's got about 5 acres and 2 hedgerows. So I go to the second hedgerow. There's no tree stand. I climb up the oak tree, and I'm sitting on a branch in this oak tree, like 10 feet off the ground. And I kill a doe, and she goes like 30 yards and dies. It was great. I turn around, and there's 2 more like coming up the same path. So I shoot another one. 2 biggest does of my life, both dressed out over 120 pounds. Like
nice.
Big does for our area. And then I'm like, do I have room in my trunk for 2? So I finally get him in there, and I had to stop and get ice because it was early season. It was hot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I come back out to my car, and there's people standing around my car. Well, there's like blood all over my bumper from like hauling hucking these deer into my trunk. So there's like blood all over my bumper. It's dripping out, and these people are standing there. There's like a husband and a wife and then another guy, like a construction worker. And I come up. I'm in my plain clothes at this point because I always change, with 2 bags of ice. I was like, do you guys need something? They're like, what's all this blood? I'm like, there's deer in there. They're like, what? So I open it up, and there's this, it was like a murder scene. There's like, it's something you, as a hunter, you don't always want to do, but they were like, I had to show them, otherwise they were going to think I was a murderer.
You're getting the cops called on
I'm
you.
like,
and it wasn't going to be like a pleasant cop show.
No.
Like someone calls like, hey, there's some guy in the woods, and like he's like shows up and like he recognizes what you're doing, like as you're dragging something out, he's like, okay, this dude's hunting or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're at like the 7-Eleven, and you're there with like blood pouring out the back of your truck, and like they call the cops, like and you're in plain clothes.
Yeah.
They're coming with guns drawn.
Yeah, exactly. So shout out to all the guys out there who have a 4-door car that they hunt. I understand the struggle is real.
Right.
I think the tally was 25 deer in that car.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
A couple times I had to call, I borrowed trucks or something to get back into some places to get it or whatever, but that deer has
25 deer.
Yeah.
In that trunk.
Yep.
That's amazing. Any of them ever make it on the hood?
No.
See that?
No. The only thing on my hood was a softball hit it once and dented my hood.
Okay.
That's the only thing that ever went on my hood. So,
dude, I just love that you had 2 deer crammed into that trunk and people were standing out watching the blood just pour out of the back.
Because we live in a hunting community. Like,
yeah, for sure.
In our area, we have one of the highest concentrations of hunters. And so some people understand, but I didn't have a truck, so people never thought I was hunting, which is one of the reasons I loved having a car hunting urban areas, because no one ever was like, oh, that guy's going to hunt or whatever. But in my situations with the blood and stuff, they don't think I'm hunting because I have a little commuter car.
Right.
So
that is the one thing with like a truck. It's like when you park somewhere during hunting season, if there are other hunters driving, right, they'll
Mm-hmm.
take notice. Okay, there's a truck parked there. Even if they don't
Yep.
know, like, even if they don't have stickers, like I take notice of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'll be driving somewhere and I'll think about like, you know, driving along and I'll look at a spot that maybe I've looked at on the map before
Yep.
or just kind of glossed over on the map before and be like, oh man, there's a truck parked there.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'll be like, I mean, I wonder what that guy knows.
Yeah.
You know, what I mean, I wonder why he's there.
I
You
got
know
a
what I mean?
notebook in my truck. Well, I had it in my car. It's not in my truck right now. Where I would all the urban areas I hunted, I would write down vehicles that I only saw, like trucks I saw periodically,
Right.
because then I would know like that guy's definitely hunting. Like sometimes when there was like a big cold front would come through, I would pull into like a area where I'd hunt, and I'd notice like, oh, that truck's there. This guy's parked on the side of the road, and it gives me a good idea of like who's hunting where and whatnot.
Right. That's actually a good idea.
So, and then on public, same thing. 3 weeks before the season, you see guys parked, and you're like, oh, I didn't know you could hunt there. And then you look it up, and you're like, oh, it's public.
Right.
Oh, I'll go check it out.
Right. Well, because I mean, like some people might say it's like, well, you know, the other people are in there, right? It's like, well, if you're hunting public, it's like other people are in there anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So get over that.
Yeah.
With a quickness. You know. And the other thing it tells you too is that like there's a reason there's a guy in there.
Yeah.
Right. And so just going through and checking it out is probably worth your while. The other part of it too is that and you have this kind of ace in the hole for yourself. I'm using this a little bit more because I have a little bit more flexibility with my job. But most of those dudes are probably just going on Saturdays.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so if you can get out like during the week,
Yeah.
those places are usually completely untouched, like Monday through Friday. You know, and it's like unless there's a big cold front coming and stuff like that, which I think sometimes on public, I'd be curious of your thoughts on this. Like, let me preface it by saying this. I think what I'm not going to go as far as to say like I feel like this is what happens, but I feel like I'm going to probably pay attention to this more like going forward. Is that I almost feel in states where public land is really pressured. So for like example, PA, right? Now, granted, there are some bigger chunks you can get away from people. I'm not saying that you can't, but some of the pieces around where we live, like they're not very big, right? There's like the one spot you and I both hunted last year that I had that one really good deer on camera. It's like 60 acres all in. There's the other part, you know, that's like down the road a little ways from it. That's like a total of like, you know, I think maybe 300, and like part of it's up on the mountain and part of it's down low, or maybe it's like 400 or whatever. But I mean, these parcels aren't huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't hunt like huge tracts of public land. They hunt like someone's farm that everyone else has access to. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of how they hunt. And so, you know, I almost feel like everyone gets geeked out for those cold fronts and will take off work for those. Right. And I feel like if you're hunting those pieces, you're almost shooting yourself in the foot if you're chasing cold fronts on those, because those are prime times when everyone else is going to try to do the same thing.
The best time is when it gets warm, the moon is in a bad phase. Like that's the best time to go into our public spots because nobody's in there, and you can be way more aggressive. Which I've noticed. Even the properties that I have to hunt that border public, because I focus a lot on properties that surround public that are small parcel of people that don't hunt. And man, on warm days, I can access the public through their property and get pretty aggressive, hoping that there's some movement, you know, especially pre-rut time or whatever, when deer bound to still be moving a little bit. So, but just so people know, like we have a good amount of public in our area, but not so much that, I don't know if I can tell the story. Clint and I both scouted a piece separately. We didn't know. I didn't know he scouted.
I think I even mentioned this on like an upfront of a podcast where I was like, oh, but tell the story.
Yeah, so I didn't know where he was scouting. And I went and scouted a piece that I kayaked into. And I was like, dude, I just found a water access, because we've been talking about water access a lot.
Oh, and let me preface, like Wilson and I share like map points with each other. Like, he is literally, Greg, and like Chad are probably the only three in Pennsylvania. Like Johnny Utah, whenever I'm in Iowa. But, you know, for the guys that I hunt with most regularly, like around here or in Ohio.
I share waypoints with like my father-in-law, Clint, and like 2 other guys. Maybe.
Right, because if I find like a really good deer on a spot and I say, hey, I want to go after this deer, you know, it's like all I have to do is say something to you and you'll be like, 10-4, gotcha. And vice versa.
So
you know
I paddle into this spot. I was really turkey scouting, and I'm like, oh, this is a good deer spot. So I start zooming around and putting some miles in. find this epic scrape line, right? And I drop some pins on it and whatever. Find a good place to access from the kayak. I'm talking to Clint and I go, man, I found this spot. I'm going to send you a pin. And he was like, dude, I just scouted that last weekend. So he sends me a picture of a scrape. And I go, and I respond with the exact same picture. We literally took the same picture of the same scrape because there was like this big branch laying across the front side of it. You
couldn't miss it.
No, you couldn't miss it. It was from the same spot. It was a fun, but that's kind of how.
What was that? And the rub.
Yeah,
we had the same. We had the
rub.
picture of the same.
And I
rub.
said, I think I recognize that rub.
Yeah.
And that's how, like, I know there's other people that hunt like us.
Yeah.
And so like-minded guys like us notice those things.
Yeah.
And it was really fun to share that because I'm like, man, we really don't have a ton of public in our area if we're sharing pictures of the same scrape on a total of X amount of acres.
Right. I mean, the one thing about that spot that I don't think,
it's not accessible.
Right. That's the one thing about it is that, like, yes, there are plenty of other folks that hunt like we like to hunt for sure.
Yep.
Less than like the whole gamut of guys, right? It's a smaller subgroup or subset. And then there's a smaller subset yet that are going to do water access and kayak into places and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, so you're dealing with what I like to say is when I find places like that, if I know another guy is hunting it, I look at that and go like, I don't know when he's going to be in here. I don't want to try to step on his hunt. So if I end up paddling in and I see someone's kayak there, I'm turning around or I'm going further down down the water to somewhere else or whatever. But what I can probably say with some decent confidence is that he's probably hunting it right. Yeah. And so if he's not there and he's maybe been there a week ago,
it's not going to be a major impact on your hunt.
Right. He's probably accessed it correctly. He probably hunted it on the right wind. Yep. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And so those types of places, I look at pressure a little bit differently, you know, because I try to, and I know you do too. It's like, I try to avoid places where you see any type of human sign. It's usually like my first, like, I'm out of here. Mm-hmm. Unless I find a spot like that where I'm like, man, anyone who's going to get in here, like knows what they're doing. Yeah. And chances are they're not going to booger it up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Those places I will go back and check. Yeah. Now, if I see really fresh, like sign that a person has been there or whatever, then I may back out and be like, all right, well, this probably isn't gonna work out for me or whatever. Or if I happen to go back and there's all of a sudden like 4 stands up, I'm like, okay, this dude's like setting up camp here, and this is like he's gonna hunt every time he has free time. Yep. He's gonna be here. Yeah. You know what I mean? So then it's like I might back out at that point. But
and a positive note for public with knocking on doors is you don't always have to knock on doors to get permission, but information is almost as vital. Yeah. I went that piece and I knocked on a couple doors that
this is a great story. Yeah. We got
I knocked on a couple doors that surround that piece and got information. I say, hey, do you know about this hunting piece? And they're like, archery season doesn't get hunted at all, but 2 weeks before gun season, guys are in there trying to get stands in, get set up. He said, gun season gets hammered. And these are from guys who hunt on their own property, so they're not going to really BS me at all, and they're probably shooting me straight. Then I get on and talk to another guy who hunts the edge of this property that we're looking at, and I would never share this much information with a random hunter, but he's like, come to my house. And so I was like, I actually met him on the road.
Come to my house. I'd like to make a skin suit out of you.
Yeah. So I'm driving to his house and I'm like, oh man, he's going to kill me.
Right.
And he's like, I want to show you some of the stuff I found in this area. He hunts a little bit of archery with his crossbow and then gun season. And he hunts right on the edge, like walk in from the parking lot and hunt. And he lives across the street. He found this deadhead. That was like a 115-inch deadhead with a 10-inch drop tine. Yeah. And so, that deer's dead, obviously, so we can't hunt it. And then he shows me a couple, like, 50-inch sheds from, like, 2-year-old, 3-year-old bucks that he's found right in that area. And that intel alone is better than getting permission to hunt on his property. Yeah. Because now I know, okay, there's this buck's in there, this buck's in there. I don't have a camera, but now I already know of 3 different bucks.
Well, what we did was like, because you called me right after that. Yeah. You were like, dude, I just got a bunch of intel about that piece. Yep. And I was like, sweet. And so you showed me the picture of the deadhead and stuff like that. And we talked about the sheds a little bit. Mm-hmm. And there was a spot that I had went in where it was like the water access point. Because there's 2 sides of this piece, right? There's like the one side where we found all the scrapes. And then there's this other side where, where that deadhead was found. Yeah. And then I found this a hammer rub, and I was telling you about that hammer rub
Yep.
that I found, and I was like, all right, well, the puzzle pieces are starting to fit together now
Yeah.
because look, 115-inch deer is not like the end all be all, but if it's able to, if that deer was a younger deer with 115 inches with like an 8-inch whatever drop tine or whatever,
Yeah.
like that's a cool deer. Like
Yeah.
I'm shooting that deer in Pennsylvania on public land all day,
100%.
and that just says that like, okay, some decent sheds were found.
Yep.
Or probably off of a young deer. There's
Yep.
some decent sign in there. It says that maybe there's a like one like, king of Turd Island or whatever type of deer in there. And it's laying down like larger rubs and stuff like that. So it says to us like, hey, this is probably worth a couple cameras and a couple hunts.
Putting time in.
Yeah. So that's actually one of the places that I want to. Well, that we're both going to kind of do it together. We're going to kind of get a boat and we're going to go put out some cameras and
I always tell people, if you ask permission to hunt at a property, don't forget to ask if people hunt there. Because if you just get a no, like it's okay, but then don't just turn around and walk away. My follow-up question is, do you have somebody that hunts there? And then often I'll even get their number where they're like, oh, I have a guy who's hunted here for 10 years. And if I'm going to hunt next door, I'm like, hey, can I get his number and talk with him? Because then you're getting information. I don't even have to go on their property.
Right.
I get information from this guy, and then he goes, man, what? I hunt the back corner, but the trail is always on the next door over. Well, I'm going to that neighbor and knocking on their door.
Right.
Which just happened for turkey season. I don't know if we're going to talk about turkey season later, but same thing happened. Guys hunting this property. We're always seeing birds on the next door property. I knock on that door. Get permission.
Yeah.
They go, call this neighbor because we're kind of close to his house. I call him. He's like, hunt my property too. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, just from figuring out somebody hunts, I have access to 2 more spots.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think anytime you can get information, it's helpful. Like as you were talking, I was just thinking, I was like, like you were saying earlier, right? There's, if we find sign that there's been people in some of these hard to access places, like I was saying earlier, you can probably look at it and go, okay, dude knows what he's doing. Like, because I've walked up on a couple sets that were still hung in a tree where I was like,
it's a good spot.
I was like, he knows what he's doing.
He's
was
killing
like,
deer.
Because there was like 10 other places that like someone who didn't have that spot dialed in would have probably hung a set. Right. Yep. But the one spot where that stand was at that someone left there, I was like, that's the killing spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've walked up on a couple of those and you're like, all right, that guy knows what he's doing. Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, for example, like we just said, like we have a very tight knit group of folks that like we'll share pins with and stuff like that. Right. Those same guys, if you're not in that tight knit group, like when you talk to them, like put it this way, if someone called me and it wasn't you, it wasn't Greg, it wasn't Chad, it wasn't John, or Johnny Stewart or whatever, and said, hey, this piece that you're hunting, it was some random guy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. He got my number from somewhere. It's like, hey, I'm hunting this piece, or I talked to Ned about hunting his property. He said, you been hunting it for 10 years. I'm not going to, he said I couldn't hunt it, but gave me your phone number. I figured maybe we could just talk and, I wanted to try to figure out if there's some decent deer around or whatever. I'm going, I haven't seen anything in 5 years. You know what I mean? Like end of call, you know? And that's like the perspective of someone who's obsessive, compulsive, and neurotic about deer hunting.
Yep.
Right. The person who just wants to go out on the weekends and get his kicks probably they love talking to you about it.
Yeah. And I'm not taking advantage of somebody.
No.
And I'm not being shady because we're putting in hours and time, and I don't want to just give that away. And often I'll just say, like, I can't tell you my secrets, man.
Right.
But some guys, they just want to talk. Like the guy I talked to him today. He just wanted to talk hunting.
Yeah.
And I hunt.
And I'm willing to listen.
I hunt a property over, and I think I talked about it in a podcast. The last one I did, I saw this mega deer there. Like, never saw him before, never got him on camera. Saw him one time. And it was like a mainframe 11 with like some stuff sticking off. And I didn't even know how big he was because he just went cruising by with a doe. I'm talking to this guy who's 100 yards from there. And I'm like, yeah, you see any big deer? He goes, oh, there's this 11 point. He's got like flyer off to one side and a sticker off. And I was like, a light bulb. I'm like, that's the same deer. And he's going, and he goes, yeah, and I found one of his sheds. So he's still alive. And I'm like, perfect. Do you hunt archery season? No, just gun season. Well, sometimes I take my crossbow out, but typically it's just, I'm like, perfect.
Yahtzee. Yeah, so, I mean, and to your point, it's like you're not taking advantage of anybody. Like some guys just want to talk hunting. And the truth be told, is that a lot of times, because that's a lot of like, you know, the guys that I hunt with or that I grew up hunting with back in camp or whatever, right? Like with my father-in-law and stuff like that. Like that's how those guys are,
Yeah.
right? It's like they'll tell you exactly what they saw down to like a T.
I was sitting at this tree. I
Yep.
walked in this way.
100%.
The wind was going this way.
Well, they don't even get that far.
Yeah.
It's like they aren't even paying attention to the wind, but they'll tell you everything. You know what I mean? And if you shoot whatever, like they're like, sweet. Like that's awesome. You know what I mean? And they'll ask me, like, and this is just different. And I mentioned this in the upfront of the podcast because I'll get your perspective on it. But the or the upfront of the last podcast, when they ask me, like my father-in-law asked me the one day because there was this deer I was trying to kill, and I kind of had his number and had a shot at him, and I,
Was this that lucky deer?
Yeah. And he was kind of watching him too because he was, glassing because I don't live there, so he'd be glassing. And he'd call me while I was glassing, right? And this is like years ago, probably like 5 years ago or whatever, 3 years ago or something like that. Because I really only hunted that deer once, and then that was it. He's glassing the field, and he'll call me, and it was like, "Oh, Lucky's out in that field," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, what's the wind doing?" And he'll like, "Oh, it's supposed to be a southwest today."
It's going left to right.
Well, he might have said left to right, and I knew which way north was. So it's like I figured out what the wind direction was. It's like, what time did he come out? And he tells me. So now I'm like, okay, so how far away is his bed? From there, and I'm like, where exactly did he come out of? He's like, well, that low spot in the field? I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's where I keep seeing him come out. I'm like, okay. I was like, the thermals are pulling there in the evening, so that's his spot. He's just checking the whole field. We're good. He's got the right wind for it, and we just kind of kept talking, and I started piecing it together, and that was literally the last piece of the puzzle that I needed to put a hunt on for that deer.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then and so then whenever he was like, "Where do you think he's bedding?" I was like, "You just told me all the information. You tell me."
Yeah.
And I wouldn't tell him where I thought he was bedded. And he was trying to for months. He was trying to get me to tell him where I thought he was bedded, and I wouldn't tell him.
Yeah,
and he got pissed at me. But
yeah, it's getting information is good. And for any of my friends that are listening to this, I don't tell anybody else the things that you tell me.
Right.
Because of how if you tell me you saw a big buck or you're hunting this big buck, I don't tell anybody that because I treat that
like it's my intel.
Like it's my intel.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm not going to go be like, oh, so-and-so who lives here said there's a monster here, Right. It's like, that's about it. The only thing you get frustrated at is when you shoot a deer, guys are like, where'd you shoot that? I'm like, it's dead already.
It doesn't matter.
It does not matter.
Yep.
You cannot go and hunt him.
Right.
And the deer I killed 2 years ago, it was rough because when I'm loading them in my car on the road, so I had to drag them all the way out to the road. Like anybody else could have pulled their truck back onto this grass field that I was behind. But me and my friend are loading him in the car, and here comes this guy, pulls up, actually a police officer, who hunts the farm next door where the deer was bedded. And he's like, where'd you shoot that deer? I'm like, I'm obviously right here. I'm like, right here. He's like, well, I've been hunting that deer all year. All year by as in 1 or 2 times.
Right. I
was going to kill that deer. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. He came onto this property. And I've been watching this deer for 3.5 years now.
Right.
And I have trail cams and sheds of him. I was going to kill him at some point.
Right.
And now he has moved all his stands to the property line. And I didn't see a single deer there this year. I mean, I saw some does, but all the bucks moved because they put their stands right in the middle of the bedding area. Because it was an area they didn't hunt. They were like, it's no good, which was good for me. So, but if I had gotten that deer out of there and they didn't see it,
still be a good spot.
It would still be a good spot. So
yeah. No, that's what happens, man. It's like I'm the same way. It's like I try not to tell anyone where you shoot something or whatever. Mm-hmm. But
I think it's part of the game. It's part of the chase that we enjoy. This information that we know that we've earned because we all have it. Even guys who just hunt on the weekends have this information where they're they saw a big buck or they found a rub. Mm-hmm. And you found that, that's yours. Other people have price. Yeah, you own that information.
Yeah,
it's your intellectual property. So, I think you got to take care of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean,
just don't be a jerk about it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Graciously tell them to go move on.
Right. Why don't you kick bricks, pal?
Yeah. Thanks for asking, but don't ever talk to me again.
But that's the one thing I think that I appreciate and like most about hunting mobile and hunting public is because I kind of assume that, when I kill something or whatever, that spot's kind of done. You know what I mean? And I won't say that it's done. That's probably the wrong way to say it. I think probably the biggest, transition or evolution for me in the past, just call it 2 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Is because I don't start with I kind of start without a place in mind necessarily, right? Where it's like when I'm walking in, it's like I don't have a tree picked out per se.
Yeah.
Not very often do I. Some of the places on public in Pennsylvania I do, just because they're smaller.
Yeah.
There's
not a lot of trees.
Not a lot of trees. You got to be very kind of choiceful about where you're going to be, because you're also trying to stay away from people, and stuff like that. So those instances, it's like I might be walking more to a spot, and then if it looks good, I might hunt it. If it doesn't, then I'll kind of keep moving.
Yeah.
So I guess the past couple of years, it's like I've been less and less concerned with people knowing where I've killed something or where I've hunted or whatever, because I don't hunt a spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I'm going to kind of move my way through, and I'll set up where the sign's good. And if I don't see the sign, then I'm leaving. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not going to spend a day hunting there. I might walk the entire time. You know what I mean? And then walk till dark and leave and never set up. I've done that before, where it's like I've walked into a place for an evening hunt, got there at noon, walked till 5 o'clock. It was dark, got my truck and went home, and never even set up. Or with 30 minutes of light left, I found, there was a decent, trail or something like that, or a scrape that I found or whatever. And I was like, well, this is as good as I found. So I hunted it from the ground. You know what I mean? The last half hour or whatever.
Yeah.
And
I think I appreciate this about you. I know I appreciate it about you. It was you are respectful to other hunters out there.
Yeah.
I'm on some Facebook groups, in our area where people are asking questions and talking about our local area hunting stuff. And the heat that people get during hunting season is ridiculous. The shade people throw, you're like, well, guys will post on there, I got in 3 hours before light, set up, it was on the perfect trail, and another guy came in. Well, it's like you're hunting Saturday morning of the deer opener on a piece of public land, and you're 50 yards from your car. Yeah. I don't think you have a card to play to be disrespectful to that other hunter.
Right.
Don't be that guy who flips out and is like, you ruined my hunt. The deer, the respect that we need to have, I think, needs to be upped, especially in our area. It's there's public land, other people are hunting it.
Yep.
And just understand that. And if you get frustrated by it, go farther back, or go closer to the road, because people walk right by it, and some of the best spots are literally 10 feet off the parking lot.
The one spot that you and I have both hunted, where if I go back to it this year, which I probably will at some point, I will hunt probably 30 yards, 40 yards off the road. I'll look at my book and be just far enough off the road that I'm legal.
Yeah.
Let's put
20,
it that way.
25 feet or some 50 feet from your car.
So,
and that we both played that wrong, because we both thought it was deeper in to that piece. But it was so easy to access deeper in.
Yeah.
Everyone's walking right.
It wasn't hard to get to the back end of that.
No.
But
man, I think we got to have, even I've been frustrated, especially in turkey season. There's more hunters this turkey season than I've ever seen in the woods.
I would say the pandemic has something to do with that, because people have free time. So.
And just FYI, we're 6 feet apart.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that earlier. It's we're actually in my garage.
Yep.
Talking.
The door is open, so they got a breeze.
The door is open. Unfortunately, it's blowing right at me. So but no, I mean, I've not had a chance to do a podcast in person for a while. And you and I have been hunting together.
Yep.
We've gone turkey hunting together and stuff like that. So it's you're the one guy that I trust to hang out with during the pandemic. Yeah. But we are spaced apart as we should be. So we're taking the precautions.
I will testify. There's more hunters than I've ever seen. I mean, the amount of guys, especially on their Facebook group, guys are killing birds for the first time. Guys are getting out turkey hunting, and it's awesome. It's put a lot of pressure on the birds.
Yeah.
First half of the season, I've pretty much only hunted public. Had a bunch of close encounters, bunch of birds. We had a cold snap, which really stunk. But, man, I'm seeing guys all over the place.
Yeah.
Plenty of opportunity to get frustrated.
Yeah.
But also plenty of opportunity to make some new friends, be like, oh, you're hunting here? How long? I haven't been hunting there very, very long. So most of these guys have been hunting there for their whole lives.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, I'll agree. There has been more folks out, at least I would agree, on social media. It seems like a lot of folks are going out, right? Free time, people aren't working right now, so what else are you going to do? I'm all for it.
Yep.
Whether is nicer now than it is during
this
deer
week is-
season, right?
A lot of turkeys are going to get killed this week.
Yeah. So it's, nice weather and stuff like that. So you can't fault them for wanting to get out. But I agree with you, man. It's like, if someone's look, they have just as much right to be in a spot as I do whenever I get there. The only time I've legitimately really gotten mad about it was whenever I got shot at this year.
Yeah.
That
is frustrating.
Yeah. Only not because they were there, right? But because like I flashed my light, they knew where I was at and they still shot in my direction.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, that's the part that made me mad. You know what I mean?
That's a different level. Cause like you get into ethics, you get into safety.
Yeah. You get into like, you could have, I won't say kill me would have been a little far because it was far for a shotgun. You know what I mean? But you could have I could have lost an eye. Like there's been a number of bad things that could have happened. Right. And it's just more than anything, it's just irresponsible. You know what I mean? I'm like, and if you're going to be that irresponsible with a firearm, like then I don't feel you should have one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm just going to be honest. Like I'm all for the Second Amendment. I'm also all for dumbasses not having weapons. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's a whole different level. Like the safety thing of like, you get out there, you set up, you put your time in, and then some guy comes in and ruins your hunt. Okay, it's fine, it's public land, and then they shoot towards you, and you're like, this is war.
Right. It's like public land means we both get to hunt it.
Yeah.
The other one does not get to shoot at the other.
Yeah, my first experience hunting ever was in Washington. It was duck hunting. I did my hunter safety course. I was, 19, 20 years old. I can't remember. No, I was married, so I was 22 or 23. Did hunter safety, went out duck hunting with my buddy. We both did it together. Set up, no decoys, no waders. We're standing in the water, and a duck lands in front of us, and we're like, do we shoot it? Or would we scare it and then shoot it in the air? Well, someone had set up across we were in like a floodplain, across in this tall grass. He shoots at it, skips his shot across the water. We hit cover. I mean, we got a couple pellets on our coat. Like, I'm like, hunting is so scary.
Right.
I was like,
bad first experience.
This is literally war. I was like, so I get up, I'm like, hey. And he's like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. So he left, with his tail tucked between his legs. And then I shot my first duck. So it was like,
nice.
It was a great and terrible day.
Right.
But I didn't know any better. I didn't know to be mad at him other than like, okay, maybe this is what hunting is like.
Right.
I'm like, maybe maybe I need to get like,
that's awesome,
a bulletproof vest or something. And then I talked to a guy and they're like, oh, we pulled in at 4 a.m. and there's probably 10 trucks in the parking lot. Like there's probably 30 guys out on this piece, it's huge.
Right.
So.
Yeah. The perils of hunting public land.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, honestly,
people in the Midwest or like the West where it's like hundreds of thousand acres are like, I've never experienced that.
Right, exactly. It's like, well, good for you.
Yeah.
Right. It's like,
come to Pennsylvania.
Right. It's like, I mean, being honest, man, it's like, I like to turkey hunt. I always say this on the podcast. I tell you too. It's like, I'm a casual turkey hunter.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I'm an opportunity turkey hunter where it's like, if I have time to go do it, I love getting out. It's great. I have a good time. I don't get all broke up if I don't see birds.
Yeah.
If I don't get a bird, don't care.
Yeah, I'm losing sleep. You're getting all the sleep.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't care. It's like, it's like, and then, if I don't see a bird or if I don't hear birds in the morning, it's like, then I usually just start scouting for deer anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm like, cool, whatever.
The sun's been up for 5 minutes and you're like, I don't see any turkeys. I'm out.
Yeah, I didn't hear it gobble. Take it easy. Deer scouting. It's not far from the truth, actually. But but I do enjoy getting out, but for turkey hunting, I will be honest and say that I do shy away from public land.
Yeah.
Only because I've had some like iffy experiences.
Yeah.
To where, put it this way, my turkey hunting is probably hampered by my unwillingness to like be aggressive and go after a bird for that reason. Right. Because I've had some iffy experiences where I'm like, you know what?
Well, in Pennsylvania, it's tough because we have a no stalking law.
Right.
So like, the videos you see of people reaping and all this stuff is illegal in Pennsylvania. And I think that's good.
Yep.
But there's a difference between moving in on a bird and stalking a bird.
Right.
So like if a bird is gobbling, I can pick my stuff up and walk 100 yards and reset up. That's not illegal. And I think we get this confused. Like that's not stalking a bird.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get up on like where he's strutting, like in that immediate vicinity. I'm just trying to get into a better position where I can call.
Yeah, and guys, and on public, we've only used a hen decoy because I don't want to run into that opportunity where every time I've been out, there is other guys out there.
Yep.
And I'm making a turkey call, and okay, all turkeys sound different, so maybe he's moving in. I don't know why he's moving in on a hen.
Right.
You know, like, was he going to kill a hen? I don't know.
Unless he thinks the hen is talking and the gobbler's with him. You know?
But I have a decoy that when we go out to like Kansas or Minnesota or whatever, I take, and it's got a real fan on it, and I actually fix like real wings on the side. From 75 yards, the thing looks legit, like a real turkey. And when I pull the string, the fan goes down. You know, it's like been beat up a bunch. But I don't use that here because it's not worth the risk for me.
Right.
You know.
That's why I almost prefer going back to the family farm to turkey hunt.
Yep.
You know, because it's controlled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, because I don't care whether or not I kill a turkey. You know what I mean? It's more for me. It's like, and I realized it was a realization that I had this past weekend because I used to go back there and hunt at least like some weekends with my father-in-law during bow season or whatever. And then I'd always like, you know, I'd hunt public around here, and then I would take like a trip somewhere and hunt public or whatever, wherever I was going. But I would usually go back and hunt maybe like 2 Saturdays during the season with him or whatever. And I don't do that anymore just because it's like, I don't, you know, they're not super serious. They're not super into it. You know, they like to hunt and they like to get out and do it, but it's just,
sometimes you almost feel like a burden.
I couldn't put my finger on what it was. And he's not been real happy with me because I don't go down any longer. Cause I was also like taking care of the property too. I was doing all the food plotting and mowing the fields and doing that stuff. And then I was like, I ain't doing this anymore. Like it just takes up too much of my time. I'd rather spend that time scouting on public and figuring out public. And so what dawned on me was that it wasn't that I didn't like spending time with the guys, you know, and the camaraderie, because I do like that. But I can't enjoy it during archery season because I'm so neurotic and obsessed with trying to hunt and kill a deer that I'm a miserable SOB to be around if you're not kind of looking at it the same way I am.
Yep.
And they don't.
Yeah.
Right? They're there to drink beer, play cards, and have like 4 or 5 days away from their wives or whatever, right? And I'm like, no, I'm trying to figure this out. I'm getting up early, doing what I got to do.
Yep.
They're walking in at like first light because they got too drunk the night before, then decided like at lunchtime, like for fall turkey, I'll just go back and get my shotgun and walk around the property and hunt turkey the rest of the day. You know what I mean? It's like, and so it's not conducive like to actually archery hunting, you know? And so I realized that like I was miserable. And I was probably making them miserable by being a jerk and being short because I was just mad all the time.
Yeah.
So I just stopped going.
Yeah.
Well, what I realized in this last turkey hunt when I was there last weekend was like I still love going back there and turkey hunting because I love walking into that one like alfalfa field in the morning, like as the sun's coming.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know, as the sun's coming up, I'm already kind of in position. I'm watching the sun come up over the alfalfa field. There's a gang of birds there all the time. Like
I'm telling you, I got to go there. We'll kill
dude,
all of them.
There was one fall, in one sit during archery season. I saw 2 flocks of like 20 to 25.
Yeah, fly
in on me, and they were all living on the property. So there was like 50 birds. You know,
let's go right now.
I might do it. And that was what I realized this past weekend. And we had 3 gobblers off the roost, like making noise.
Yeah.
One was kind of far away. And I was actually with my buddy Tate, which you got to meet. You know, meet him sometime. And he was down like in this creek bottom. And what Tate had told me was he was like, I've heard him every day that I've turkey hunted. He's like, he's the cock of the walk around here.
Yeah.
And he will not move. He's like, he will get down. He'll gobble on the limb one time.
Yep.
He's like, he will get down. He will gobble 3 times on the ground. And that's it.
Those birds give me nightmares, man.
He's like, and he will not make another noise. And then we did have one that was willing to play some ball, and we were just in the wrong spot. If we would have been where we were intending to go, probably would have shot a turkey.
Yeah.
Because he walked right by. So then we heard him. And again, this is the thing. It's like on public or on private ground, it's like, you know, I can get reset up without fear of like who was around the corner, right? And so there was another turkey that ended up gobbling down over this ravine, and he was just clearly responding to, you know, the turkey that was now in the field, who was the first one that we had heard, right? So, you know, I looked at Tate and I was like, I think if we just move up this timber line, you know, a little further, we can probably close the distance on him
Yeah.
and get in his comfort zone a little bit
Yep.
and maybe get him to commit or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we did that. And at that point, there was like a little rise, and I could kind of see down into this rise. And I could see him down there strutting with a hen. Well, then she popped her head up and she saw us, and game was over.
The worst.
You know, and then we had
It's like deer hunting. If a doe blows at you, you can kill her.
right.
And then turkey season, you're like, you live.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because they saw us. They ran into the timber, didn't make a sound, and then Tate and I went to like back to the middle of the field. We were starting to walk back to the truck, and there's this huge tree in the middle of the field. It's a big walnut tree. It's why we call it the walnut tree field. And we're standing
Makes
by
sense.
it, just kind of talking, and all of a sudden, this hen comes flying out of the timber across the field to the other side, solo. And I was like, dude, he just lost his girlfriend. And I was like, let's go over there and see if we can call him up out of the timber. So we go to start walking over and just stop. And I turned to my right and looked. There he is.
Oh,
Like
jeez.
he was down into the hollow, and I heard something walking. I was like, what is that? And I looked over and I couldn't see. And then all of a sudden he was running up the other side of the hollow. And then that was game over from there.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like I saw him twice. I had a visual on him twice, just didn't play it right. You know? And but it was in that moment where I was like, man, I like coming back here to turkey hunt.
Yeah.
You know? So what I talked to my father-in-law about was I was like, I know I don't come back for archery hunting and gun season anymore, and I know that disappoints you because, you know, you'd like for one of your family members to be the person who kind of carries on this tradition or whatever and so forth. I was like, what if we did turkey camp instead? I was like, where we come back here for the opener during turkey season. I can enjoy it and don't have to be a jerk because I don't care. I mean, I might, if we play cards and drink too many beers the night before, if I don't get up and go turkey hunting, I don't care.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
I was like, I'm good. I was like, we'll turkey hunt in the morning. I was like, we'll come down Friday, we'll play cards, we'll have some beers, we'll get up in the morning, I'll try to go shoot a turkey.
Yeah.
You know, Saturday, because you can only hunt till noon.
Yep.
I was like, and then at noon, we'll go into town and have lunch.
That's
lunch
fun.
together.
I love
like,
turkey camp, man.
Yeah, I was like, and then we'll head to the golf course and we'll play 9 holes.
Yeah.
And hang out and make it a day, you know? And he was like, oh, that sounds pretty good. I don't think you have to twist my arm to do that.
Deer camp's one thing. It's work, man.
Yeah.
Turkey camp, I'm bummed because this year, because of the pandemic stuff, we always go up to New York, me and 2 of my best friends, take the camper up there, you hunt till noon, then you go fish or hop around and whatnot. And New York is open, but just because of the way things worked out with people going back to work, they work at a butcher shop, and they can't keep meat on the shelves down there because everybody's just going and buying in bulk, and so they couldn't get any time off. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go by myself. And then I usually go a couple other places, but I haven't gone anywhere. I mean, I went to Wyoming.
Yeah. How was that Wyoming trip, man?
It was awesome. It was on a whim. One of my longtime friends lives in Wyoming, and he has going through some medical issues, and he was like, man, I wish you could come out. And I was like, well, I'm working from home. I got time. I'll just come out. And I was going to drive out with a friend. I called him. I was like, hey, do you want to go to Wyoming like tonight?
I remember I talked to you like whatever night it was. It's just called it Wednesday. You were over here picking up the aerosol.
Yeah, I was getting the aerosol from you.
And we were just out in the driveway talking, and you're like, I'm thinking of going to Wyoming to turkey hunt. And I'm like, really? I'm like, that sounds cool. You're like, yeah. And then literally like the next day, like I text you. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? You're like, I'm in Wyoming.
Yeah, I literally, because that was a Wednesday, and I left on a Thursday. I left that next night, and he was like, I think I can go. And I'm like, sweet, because driving with 2 people is always great.
Yeah.
And then he was like, no, I can't do this last minute. I can't get out of here. So I looked at my wife. I'm like, I'm still going to go. It's 29 hours straight. I got there at 35, which was
pretty good.
Yeah, because I stopped 4 times for gas. I didn't buy food anywhere. I didn't have any human contact the whole time, which was like great. I brought
great
my
social distancing.
Yeah, I brought my jet boil. I made coffee. I don't try this at home, folks, but like I had like a book on my passenger seat, and I had my jet boil on my passenger seat, and I was making coffee while I was driving. And so then I put my mug in between my legs, and I have my what's my little coffee thing I got? It's just like a little plunger.
Like a press?
Yeah. What's it called?
French press?
No, it's like plastic. You put the coffee in it.
AeroPress?
Yeah, AeroPress. Yeah. I'm like, I can't remember. I use it all the time.
This was like Pictionary, or what was that
Yeah.
game like where you draw the things or
Yeah.
whatever, charades or
Yeah.
something? I'm like,
2 words,
sounds
coffee,
like
plastic. So I'm like pouring hot water into my
groin.
groin area on the road, driving to my car, steering with my leg. But you know, when you're in the Midwest, you can see for like 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
You know,
You can see if there's a car coming in the next state.
yeah,
Up
you're
there.
like, I'm good for about an hour.
Yeah.
So I'm making coffee. I like stopped on the side of the road, made soup.
Give yourself a haircut.
Yeah, give myself a haircut. It was great, man. It was an awesome trip. I'm usually good for about 6 to 7 hours driving, and then I got to stop and take a nap. But I think because it was so on the whim, dude, I just pounded it out. Like I stopped for 30 minutes, closed my eyes, and I was like, woke up and I'm like, man, I just keep driving. But there's nobody on the road.
Yep.
It was like apocalyptic. All the rest stops were shut down. I mean, basically from Pennsylvania to South Dakota. I think they opened up in South Dakota. But I was driving through Wisconsin, and it was like 75 degrees. And then I got into Minnesota. Like within 2 hours, there was like 2 inches of snow on the road.
Jeez.
And I'm driving my little front-wheel drive car, and I'm like,
Right.
I can't see. I thought I was going to die. I called my dad, and I'm like, Dad, if I die, I'm in Minnesota. I'm not sure exactly where in Minnesota, but just find me. I'll share my location. I actually had my location shared with my wife so she could like check in, see where I was at,
Right.
make sure I wasn't dead. Pulled into Wyoming. Dude, it was awesome. My buddy has a ranch out there by the Bighorn Mountain Range and or Bighorn National Forest. I think that's what it is. I'll have to double check. Don't quote me. Anyways, it's beautiful.
Quoting you, dude.
It's beautiful. Then we drove around that day. He showed me the area. Next morning we woke up. We went and got that night we went and got our fishing license and our turkey tag, and went to just started chasing birds on public. And it's early. It's April,
Right.
and birds were in big flocks, and it's like mountainous area, which I've never hunted turkeys in.
Right.
And it was a whole different ball game. You're like trying to get in front of where they're going. You're not calling them in. And
it's interesting.
yeah, like
So are you glassing them up? Is that how you're kind of doing it?
yeah,
'Cause
like
I have
they're
no
gobbling, but you're just trying to walk the edges of these like creek bottoms and trying to put eyes on the birds before they put eyes on you, which is very difficult.
clue. Right.
And we're walking through the woods, and I'm like looking down at my feet, just making sure I'm not crunching on any sticks or whatever. I look up, and at 35 yards, there's this Tom strutting, this Miriam, just like full, just strut, just loving it. And I go, don't move. But there was like 4 hens and like 5 other birds with it. And so they just started, we didn't really scare them. They just started walking up this ravine between these 2 hills. And so we humped probably like a mile over this ridge around the backside of this mountain. And there was this little bowl at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And it was super windy, like 25-mile-an-hour winds, like very, very windy. And we're like, I bet they're just chilling in this little bowl. And I peek my head over, and they're 25, 30 yards. And there I missed my first turkey ever
Yeah.
and didn't kill him.
I
I have a feather in my vest to prove it. Because I shot, like, a couple birds saw us and flew down. They can get away real fast when they're up on a hill because they just take a couple steps, spread their wings, and just coast.
Right
They're
out, yeah.
2 miles away
Yeah.
before you blink. But this one strutter's strutting. He didn't see me, and as soon as he came out of strut, I pulled the trigger. But as soon as he came out of strut, he jumped to fly. And I knew I didn't hit him. Like, I hit part of his wing, and a feather flew, and I wasn't shooting at him again at 60 yards,
Right. Right.
And I watched him land about a mile away and then just start strutting again.
He was like, "Screw you, bud."
Oh, yeah. I was like, dang. And then
That's
it was
the first
dark
turkey
and-
you've ever missed, huh?
Well, I've missed a bird. I missed a bird in Minnesota, and I missed a bird in Pennsylvania, but I killed them. I shot
Okay.
I got another opportunity to shoot. Like, it was like, boom, I missed. Boom, I killed him. But
Right.
here it was like, boom, you missed, and then
He's
they're
gone.
a mile away.
Right.
But
Like-
we fly fished for miles on these famous fly fishing creeks. It's just
That
caught
was an awesome trip, man.
brown trout and made Tiger King jokes. And
Made Tiger King jokes.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you see my buddy Luke Scheimer won the national turkey calling contest, BHA turkey calling contest?
I did
thing?
not.
He was the Tiger King.
Oh, that guy, you know that guy?
That's the guy I go elk hunt with in Montana. Yeah,
Ah,
he's from my hometown.
That guy cracks me up.
Yeah.
I'm like, he should win just because he's dressed like this dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a local PA guy, Galen, was in it.
yeah.
And
I saw him.
I think quality-wise, he was the best turkey caller
I don't know,
in that
man.
whole group, man. He's next level.
Luke was doing it with his hand, man. Like Luke does it all like with his own mouth. Like there's no call involved.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's mad props to him.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like he went sans call. Well, he did at least for the regional one. I don't know about the final one. I'm pretty sure he did all mouth. He did all mouth calling, like with his own mouth or whatever.
Anyways, but
he's a savage though. Like you have to meet him sometime. Like I got to get back out to Montana and hunt with him again because he's just first off he's crazy.
I like it.
Number one, and two, he's just a savage. Like there's a picture of him. I think it was right when he moved out to Montana. And it was like the first, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I think it was like the first elk he shot, or maybe it wasn't. You know what I mean? I don't really remember, but it wasn't a big elk. It was a cow.
Okay.
You know, and it wasn't like huge, but still, like there's a picture of him. He cut its legs off at like the knees or whatever, and you know gutted it or whatever. Probably like more like a deer or whatever. If I'm remembering the picture correctly. And he had it over his shoulders behind his neck, walking through the stream, like carrying it out.
Yes,
like,
I love it.
He's a savage. Like that's just when I was out hunting with him.
Sounds like me a little bit.
Yeah,
whatever.
totally.
I carry a turkey over like one shoulder.
Yeah, but he's cut like from marble. Like the dude is just like he looks like he should be in like some type of like Mr. Olympian like competitions or whatever. Like
that's awesome.
It's just like he's a freak. But like when we would go to the mountains to hunt, like I would have like a whole bladder full of water, like a backpack, like GPS. We would get there. He would slam like a 12-ounce bottle of water and grab his bone. Like, let's go, boys.
I'm good for 6 days.
And we would go. It would be like, you know, whatever, like 3:00 in the morning. We're starting to hike in or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like we wouldn't get back to the truck till like 8 or whatever. He wouldn't eat anything.
Oh, man.
Wouldn't drink any water. And we would do like 10, 12 miles, whatever. You know, that's just how he is. He's a savage.
Yeah. I almost didn't come home from Wyoming. I called my wife and I was like,
do
you have the ability to pack all of our stuff
and just come out here
and hook the trailer up, hook our camper up to the Jeep and get the kids and just come on out? You know, Wyoming is like, you have Idaho, you've got Colorado, you've got Arizona, you got Utah. I mean, you're like a day's drive, an easy drive away from all these unreal places to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And the area we're at, the town is growing. It's just I mean, they got a Walmart.
Right.
So, oh wait, I actually don't even know if they have Walmart. I take it back. I think
Probably
they have a
not.
Costco. They got a big store, a big box
They
store.
got one big box store.
You know, but like, it's what you love about a small town. Like, it's like, here's your town. It's very community based. So like, people are friendly and help each other out. And like, hey, my fence is down, or I'm going to bring my stuff over and help you out. Or, hey, my tractor broke down. Hey, dude, I got to borrow my tractor for the day or whatever. Like, very community based, which I love. And the weather, you got 4 seasons. You got elk. I mean, my buddy killed a giant elk in his backyard, you know,
Nice.
and turkeys and more deer than I have ever, more whitetail than I've ever seen.
Right.
Because you get one tag there, it's mule deer or a whitetail. And so people go to like the Badlands area and hunt mule deer, and whitetail kind of get like second best or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's the
I'm
thing.
like, holy cow, I could kill so
So
I'm
many
like,
critters.
there is so many deer here. And by the end of the trip, I was there for like 7 days. I was like, I was like not impressed with deer anymore. I'm like, yeah, whatever. There's 50 deer in that field. I don't care.
Right. 2 things. One, now that I'm thinking about it, my buddy Luke was probably carrying out a mule deer on his back.
Oh, okay.
That makes more sense.
Still cool.
Still cool, right? Still baller, right? 2, that's the cool thing. Like, that's what intrigues me about heading out west to hunt, because I had an opportunity to pick a hunt, to go hunt somewhere cool this year or whatever. And I was thinking about going out like further west or whatever.
Yeah.
Going to Missouri, which is going to be a killer hunt. You know, the reason I picked Missouri is because it was a little closer, and I knew I wanted to string like Missouri and Ohio together. And so I didn't want to like be all the way out in like, you know, Wyoming or Montana if I could draw a tag, because now apparently like you can't even draw a deer tag. Like, it seems like you have to, like, I think it was Mark Kenyon saying like he didn't draw again this year for his whitetail tag, which is kind of crazy.
Brutal.
Yeah. So, but I want to go out to the western states and hunt whitetails, just because like what you're saying is like they don't hunt them out there. Like, I mean, I'm sure they do, but it's not like
they get a bad rap. It's like, why would I want to? It's like they
when
have
you got
elk and then mule deer.
It's like,
and antelope, and you're like, oh, I mean, the vibe I got out there was people with late season rifle hunt with landowner tags for like does, just to get meat. Which is awesome. Like they're just going out to kill does for meat, which I do here.
And there's some hammer bucks out there, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can't divulge too much information, but there's some huge deer out there. Like some of the sheds I saw from two guys like that we went fishing with this one guy all day, and I'm like, we're best friends, Right. I don't think he thinks the same of me, but I'm like, we are friends. And I mean, they're finding mule or whitetail sheds that are probably would gross 160, 170, and they're just giving them their dog to chew. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
Where I'm like putting that in a glass case, and I'm putting putting LED lights, and I'm taking my family picture off the wall, and I'm hanging it, and they're like just using them for door handles.
Right. Well, it's like Tim Bunau moved out to Montana, and I mean, he was hunting whitetails and he went out and all that stuff, but I mean, he found some hammer whitetail sheds, and he was on like a hammer deer that would make anyone in the Midwest. Well, I shouldn't say most people in the Midwest go like, that's a good deer. Like it was probably like in the 160s.
Yeah.
Right. So it probably wasn't quite Boone. Right.
Yeah.
But it was a hammer by all accounts. Right.
Yeah.
I would be hard pressed in my circle of friends, and some of my buddies have killed some really good deer. I'd be hard pressed in my circle of friends to find someone that would pass that deer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't think I have a friend that would pass that deer. Except for maybe Don Higgins. He would probably pass that deer. But that guy's on another level. Yeah. But yeah, man, it's like I'd really like to get out west and do some whitetail hunting. That's got to be on the hardest part for me though is if I'm going to drive that far, it's like I'm going to elk hunt.
Yep.
That's the hardest part for me. It's like if I'm going to put that much time in, and traveling out there, and like you don't want to just go for a week necessarily. If you're going to do something like that, you want to go for like 2.
Yeah. I've said this on pretty much every podcast I've ever been on with you is like, don't say no to opportunities if you can say yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I got a lot of people when I left for Wyoming that were like, you're leaving your wife for 7 days in the middle of a pandemic?
Well, what are you going to do about it?
And they're like, someone said, what's the scope on that? Like the scope doesn't look good. And I said, well, it may not look good because some guys may not have that opportunity and their wife might not let them leave.
Right.
But, in this case, it's like I haven't seen this friend in a couple of years, and he's going through a lot of hard stuff. Right. And I had the opportunity to go see him, and I could have just as easily said no because it's a long drive. I got to pay for gas, which gas in the Midwest was $1.14.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, big skin off my back there.
Right.
But in life, we have so many opportunities that we can say yes to. But for some reason, we decide to say no because we just talk ourselves out of it. Going out west to hunt.
Yep.
Trying new states. In Pennsylvania, we're an hour and a half from New Jersey, 2 hours from New York, 2 hours from Maryland, or an hour and 40 minutes from Maryland. All great states to hunt in.
Yep.
And guys complain here. We have plenty of opportunities.
Yep.
But you just got to say yes to it. Yep. Because like there's so much adventure out there like to do.
Yeah.
Just go. If you're able, go do it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's
podcast. Do something cool.
Do something cool. I think, we were talking earlier about some of the hardships with, hunting public land and stuff like that. And those are all true. You know what I mean? But I think, I don't want to make it sound like we were being totally negative about it. I think what we were talking about was like our pieces around here typically are smaller and they present
We're talking
some
like
challenges.
A 20-mile radius.
Right. But what that means is that my opportunity is just to go out and find more spots, find more places. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that was really, what I've spent a lot of time doing. And I know you have too. It's like you and I've basically been on every piece of public that's within a 30-minute drive of our homes. You know what I mean? And I feel like we've done a pretty good job individually and collectively that we've kind of like, all right, if I'm going to hunt this piece over here, it's probably just these 2 spots. If I'm going to hunt this piece over here, it's probably this one spot.
Yeah.
It's like, and so we've kind of figured out like, and when I say spot, I don't mean like, for me, I don't mean like a tree. I mean like a general area, right? That I'll figure out during the season. But the other opportunity and to say yes is like, you start to like take that circle and go outside of it. Cause that's kind of what I've been wanting to do is like, all right, I feel like I have a pretty good beat on the stuff that's close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the stuff that's within a half hour.
Yeah.
What I'm not as familiar with is the stuff that's like if I go out an hour out, right? In any direction. Not Jersey notwithstanding, because I'm still staying in PA because usually my out of state hunts are in the Midwest. But so I started looking at land like outside of that, right? And I went out and scouted one piece, and I might not hunt some of those this year.
Yep.
But it's more like starting to get some intel for me for like the subsequent years.
Yeah.
That way I can start to kind of like, because those chunks are bigger. And so then you got a lot more room to roam. You have a lot more room to be aggressive, and stuff like that, which is why I got the trailer that I'm converting. You know what I mean? Because then I can leave Friday night, set up camp, and then be close to where I want to hunt. That way I don't have to get up, an hour, 2 hours earlier than I would normally have to, and be right there and ready to roll.
I was giving you a hard time because I'm like, you can just buy a trailer.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't you work at like a marketing company and like you can just buy a trailer? But I have a trailer. It's 26 feet, and I am so limited. Like if I go down like a public gravel road on a piece of property, I can't turn around.
Yeah.
And some guys are listening. They're like, I could turn that trailer around. I'm
like, I could turn it around in like a parking spot.
I'm like, in a Walmart parking lot, I could turn this thing around. But like, if you're on a single road, gravel road, which a lot of these places are, and there's no turnaround, there's just like a tiny parking lot. I don't have the freedom to just like, whip it around or like unhook it and move it. It's like 6,000 pounds. Like I'm pretty strong, but I'm not that strong.
Right.
And to set my rig up, get it ready to go, is so much more involved than hooking up an enclosed trailer and hitting the road.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be so set up for those.
Yeah.
Those hunts. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And that's really why I got, well, for one, I'm going to take it to Missouri and Ohio this year. Cause like, I know I've been doing travel hunting for like a couple years, right? Where I like to go out of state and all that stuff. And, I've been able to do it on the pretty cheap, I'll call it. Right. And it just depends. Like it depends on where I'm going. Like last year I kind of lucked out in Iowa. I had like a good situation where I got a cabin for like 2 weeks. I think I spent like $650 to have like a cabin for 2 weeks, which was like pretty cheap considering I was there for like 14 or 15 days. You know what I mean? Like that was a pretty good deal. But that being said, it's like, that's almost what I paid for my trailer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and so
my neighbor's got a trailer for sale for $1,000. It's the same as yours.
Yeah, and it's like, and I'm going to do a little bit of work to it. I'm going to put a solar generator in it for power, and I'm going to put like a ventless propane heating system in it, and like some collapsible bunk beds, for me and you or me and Chad or whomever's going to go to hunt out of it. And it's not going to be the lap of luxury. Going to do some insulating and stuff like that, so it can roll. But that was really the purpose, because I was like, I want to be able to go. Like next year, Chad and I are planning to go to Kansas.
Yep.
Even when I was looking at Missouri for this year, I'm looking at Missouri going like, okay, there's these 3 pieces of public that I want to stay somewhere close to all 3 of them. That way I can hunt any of them.
Yeah.
Right. And this is really what like triggered, like, cause I've been thinking about the trailer thing for a while, and this is really like what broke the camel's back. Cause I was like looking for places to stay.
Poor camel.
Poor camel. He's glue now.
Oh gosh.
Just kidding. It's terrible.
That's so bad. But
I was looking for places to stay in and around these public pieces, and there was always like a place to stay like in close proximity to like one of them.
Yeah.
Right. And all these pieces were like at a max, they were maybe an hour away from each other. And like if you got the right location in the middle, you could probably be like 30 minutes from any of them. And I wasn't fun and anything like that. And I was like, when I travel to hunt, it's like I hate spending time driving to the spot I'm going to go hunt.
Yeah.
Like
I'll drive and scout for hours and put miles on.
Right.
But when I'm driving to the actual piece, you're like, man, it's 30 minutes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not that terribly long, but it's like that's just time that I'm not spending, especially on those travel hunts, man. It's like
sleep is valuable.
Yeah, man, because you're grinding, dude.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like
especially when you don't get back to the camper till 11 or midnight. It's like you're gonna get 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting a ton of sleep, and so for me, it's like I'm trying to get as much sleep as I can, because those trips aren't usually like 3 days; they're usually like 7 to 15, 7 to 16 days.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so you add up all that time where you're like, burning it at both ends. It's like, it starts to get to you after a while.
Yeah.
And so anything I can do to get more rest, and better rest, I'm going to try to do that, because it'll just pay dividends for me in the long run.
Yeah.
So that was really whenever I was like, you know what? I really just need to get a trailer.
Yep.
And I need to convert it, because I'm tired of trying to find like the campsite
Yeah.
or like the cabin that is like perfectly situated
Yep.
where I want to be. Because if I'm there in the 2 spots that I've kind of picked out and I'm freelance hunting them because I'm not going out to scout this year.
Yeah.
If they suck and I want to go to like the place that's 2 hours away, like, well, where am I staying?
Yep.
You know what I mean? I was like, well, now it doesn't matter. Now I just pick up and go and I'll park wherever. You know what I mean? As long as
Yeah.
I'm legally parked, right? I'm
Yeah.
not going to go park and camp somewhere where you're not allowed. But
Yeah.
if I can find like a campground close by that I can just pull my trailer into and sleep, then that's where I'll be. And a lot of these states, Pennsylvania, you can't do it, but some states you can literally pull into like the DNR lands or the public lands.
Yep.
And you can actually just like stay in the parking lot. Like,
Yeah.
you can camp out there, you know? And so places like that, it's like I can literally just pull in where I'm planning to walk in the morning,
Yeah.
sleep, and be good to go, you know?
Well,
and that was really the reason for getting it.
yeah, I think there's guys listening right now, and I know I thought the same thing at one point. It's like, well, I would do more hunts. I just don't have a trailer. I don't want to spend money on hotels. Watch the hunting public guys.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll know, like, okay, you don't need a lot.
No,
Like,
you don't.
I have literally gone and hunted from my 4-door Chevy Cruze, which if anyone knows about a Chevy Cruze, they're tiny.
Yep.
And I've slept in the back seat. I had all my gear in the back. Like, I would literally I packed my cooler with all my clothes so that if I shot a deer or a bear, you know, when I was bear hunting, I would just take all my clothes out of the cooler and put the animal in there.
Yeah.
But it's doable to hunt from even a tiny car
Totally.
for short periods of time.
Yeah, and I've done that with my truck where it's like
Anything over 3 days, you got
it gets tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
but it's doable. Like, I encourage anybody, go get a sleeping bag, get a cooler, get your weapon of choice, and go stay in your car somewhere. Like, it's totally doable.
It's the benefit for me of being small, right? Because I'm only like 5'8.5" or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So it's like for me, if I pull the back seats up in my truck, I can pretty much lay a long ways down across the back of my truck in a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
And so this weekend, whenever I went back home to turkey hunt the farm, I wasn't staying in the cabin because I live in the hot zone for like the whole virus thing or whatever. And my father-in-law's had cancer a couple times. And so I didn't want them to feel like they had to go through and sanitize the whole cabin because I stayed there or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just parked at the cabin. I slept in my truck. You know what I mean? And so you can totally truck camp.
Weather was nice.
Weather was nice. I've done it in like minus 10-degree weather in Ohio. I went out for like 2 days on my own after Thanksgiving. Like, I just wanted to go back to hunt this like couple spots that I had a really good deer on camera that I'd been chasing during the rut that I didn't catch up to. I went out and stayed like 2 nights, you know, in my truck. I pulled into a KOA, bought a campsite for like $10 for 2 nights or whatever it was, or $10 a night or whatever it was.
KOAs.
And at least had a spot to like, had a shower, had a bathroom or whatever, you know what I mean? And just slept in the back of my truck for 2 nights, you know what I mean?
Yep.
To your point, it's like this longer, you know, these longer trips, it's like I need something that's a little bit more sustainable.
Yep.
Because I'll still do like, if I'm going by myself out to that Publix an hour away from the house here on a Friday night, I'll probably just stay in the back of my truck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just not worth hooking up and taking everything if I'm just going to literally sleep for 4 hours, get up and then drive home the next night.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a testament to you don't got to spend a lot of money.
No.
You know, you don't have to get that expensive tent that goes on the top of your truck, or my truck
I don't even like those because then I can't move. Because then I have to tear down everything to move.
Yeah,
again.
supposedly they're easy to tear down, which I've seen a few that are, but they're, you know, you're talking $2,000, you know, $1,800 to $2,000.
My camper, my conversion is going to cost me way less than that.
Yeah.
And be way more secure and comfy.
And mobile.
With heat.
Yeah, with heat.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't have to spend a lot of money to do an out-of-state trip.
No.
You know, I even thought about one point, I was like, I want to do a YouTube video series where I take my car, and I guarantee you, like, I'll bet you money right now, I could hunt, like, let's just say I started in New York, and went New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland. I could do a 3-week trip and stay in people's houses that I've never met before.
Oh, I'm the king of that.
Like, I think I could literally knock on doors and get, like, and couch surf.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Like, it's doable.
There's a dude who does that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love him.
I'll tell you his name off air because I don't know if he wants people knowing like exactly what he does.
Yeah.
But the
if you're friendly and approachable, you can, man.
He's a killer too. He kills big deer.
Yeah. I'm about to do it. I mean, I have a trailer and a home. But
right. Yeah. I want to be white-tail homeless for a while just for fun.
Yeah, if my wife's listening to this, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But the reality is, like, my truck has the truck.
Yeah, you're gonna put a
cap
deck
on it.
thing in the back and kind of set it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a deck system in it that's got the drawers, but we'll be able to sleep in there. Like if my wife and I want to go on a weekend trip where it's like we don't want to pull the trailer or whatever, man, we'll get in that. I don't know what you're talking about, but it's you don't have to spend a lot of money to go on out of state trip.
You have to. The thing is you either have to be crafty yourself, right? Like in handy, right? And then you can do it on like the super cheap.
Yep.
I'm not that. Like I can do enough, you know what I mean? Things like, building things wise.
You're crafty-ish.
To get by. That's a good way to put it. To get by. But I'm not going to be able to frame out something and whatever. So like whatever I do has to be pretty DIY and like the bare minimum of like getting something up and going. That's why for me, the trailer was the perfect thing. Cause I literally need a place to sleep. I need somehow to heat it, and I need a way to have some power.
Yep.
And if I can do those 3 things and some insulation so it stays warm, right? If I can do those 4 things, I can stay in it for weeks. You know what I mean?
Have you researched wind power? I'm just kidding.
No, don't intend to. What do you think? Maybe a little turbine on the top, like cranking as I'm driving out to wherever.
Dude, it's charging something up on the inside. I'm sure that's some
you just
engineer.
wire that up to your alternator.
I'm sure there's some engineer out there that's like, I'll get you a turbine.
Right. It's like now I'm pulling like a wind turbine behind me. It's like, and I'm getting 2 miles of the gallon for gas. So what I'm saving on charging, I'm spending in gas. But man, let's turn to deer season now that we've been kind of dancing around it, talking about all these things. What are you most looking forward to this deer season?
Killing the state record.
Going state record.
Yeah.
Going Al Bundy.
Yes. No. I shot a buck last year, and I haven't talked about it at all because I'm sad about it still. But I shot a buck that never recovered, and
I remember that. It sucked.
Yeah, it was brutal. I mean, I spent days and days and came to the conclusion that he's still alive. I mean, I knocked on doors and searched 2-mile grid basically around that. We got dogs out there. I shot him from 12 yards from the ground and made what I thought was like I actually drew on him when I was 30 yards, but the way I was standing, I'm like, I can get closer. And he was moved into his like rut bed, like in the middle of this doe hot zone where he could bed and see all sides of him. And it was on a little hillside, so like wind was perfect. He could basically smell everything. Got in this little funnel where there's some down trees, and literally over, I think it was about 45 minutes or an hour, literally walked right up to him. He was bedded away from me, checking the out in front of him, and got to 25 or 30 yards, drew, and I was like, I can get closer. So I got to 12 yards, and he was bedded down, quartered away, and I got down to my knees, put my arrow on the last rib, and let it zip. Saw my arrow disappear. He ran off, and it was late. I had to get to a meeting. I found blood right away, but as I'm watching him run, he looked totally fine. So I'm like, you know what? It's the first cold front. It was 30 degrees that night. I'm like, I'm going to leave him, which I don't leave deer. Like, if anybody knows me, like, if I have to go out at 2 a.m. to go find the deer, I'll go out at 2 a.m. If like I know I hit in the liver, I'll give it 4 hours and go back out. Like, I don't ever sleep on it.
Right.
But this time, like, this was the biggest buck I've ever shot. And so with some other people telling me, like, okay, we left him overnight. Got there at sunrise, got on blood instantly, followed blood for almost 400 yards. He'd never bed down, and found my arrow. There was only blood on the back half of the arrow. It was the weirdest thing. There was like no blood on the front half, and came to the conclusion that my arrow didn't penetrate the rib cage. It went on the outside. He was quartered a little bit more than I thought, and my arrow hit that rib bone and just went on the outside of the ribs, and it was just superficial blood. And followed tracks for another 100 yards, and that was the end story of him. So this season, I'm really, really looking forward to killing that deer. So I don't know. I mean, I had cameras out, never got him on camera, but we saw him a lot before I shot him, and he's kind of like a home area deer. So I'm interested to see if he made it through. I didn't find any sheds, or I have no proof of life in a sense. So I'm hoping he's still alive, but we're going to
But he was active like during the summer and early fall, like on camera and stuff?
Yeah.
So you'll get a good idea.
Yeah. And he's got some very noticeable characteristics. Like he's not super heavy, and he doesn't have anything very like, you look at him, he's just ultra wide.
Right.
You know, he's kind of one of those bucks that comes straight out from his head. He's not super heavy, but tines are straight up and even. And I'm looking forward to just chasing that deer. But I picked up a couple other small parcel properties next to some really hot spots. And so I'm really looking forward to putting time in this summer with cameras and scouting and picking a few properties to focus on this year. Last year, I was here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I hunt small parcels, we have the opportunity to hunt a bunch of properties. So people are, I'll talk to landowners and they're like, oh, I had a buck in my backyard last night rubbing on this apple tree or whatever.
Right.
And then I would bounce over there, and then I would bounce. And I was really just going off of information I've gathered from people. I had a few bucks I was chasing, but then when I shot my buck and I didn't find him, I hunted that spot pretty much religiously to the end of the year.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to putting my focus more on a few spots than my horizon being too large.
Right. Yeah, I think you and I talked about that a little bit, because I said, again, going back to like expanding my radius of like public that I'm, familiar with, and getting out to some places that are a little further away from the house and stuff. I think I'd mentioned to you, like, my concern is like this year at least that I already have enough spots, or a lot of spots.
Yeah.
That I haven't even hunted ever yet.
Yeah. It's a great problem to have.
Right. It's like but my big concern is that I'm just looking to make sure the dog's still here, because I just watched a cat walk across my driveway. We're in my garage, and I was like, man, if the dog sees that, it's going to get crazy.
Game over.
But I was trying to like, almost, I don't want to say limit, but like needing to be conscious of like how many spots I have, and realistically how many am I going to get to, because I'm literally going to be here till like the end of October, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, granted, we get an extra week this year, on the backside of the rut.
Oh, yeah. That's actually really exciting.
Yeah, which I'm really stoked about that, because, every year I leave to go hunt, and then I come back, and like it's basically like
you can't hunt anymore.
Dunzo, until after like gun season or whatever, and then it's crapshoot completely.
Yeah.
But I'm super stoked to have that, like, because that's actually like the best week.
Yeah.
Like that's like, I mean,
here at least, like.
Yeah. I mean, all the time. Like I remember, just watching cameras here, and then even when back at the family farm or whatever, I just always remember like whenever I would hunt the rut there, I would go back and like look at cameras like around the 16th, 17th, 18th, and it's just like going like bonkers.
Yeah.
Like every big deer that I had on camera in the summer came back. You know what I mean? It was just like, and I was always like, man, we never get to hunt the best part of the rut.
Yeah.
It's always like a week early that we're like, that we have to stop.
And then when we get to go back in the woods, it's with the Orange Army.
Yeah. And then it's like, it's a crapshoot at that point, So, so for me, I think I'm looking forward to a couple things. One, I think I'm really looking forward. Well, there's a couple things, man. I'll even like bring it more forward than that. Like I'm looking forward to like you and I going out with those water access places and hanging some cameras. Like I'm really stoked to see what's in those places.
Yep.
Because I think both of our spidey senses tell us like it's pretty undisturbed.
Yeah.
For Pennsylvania public land.
For this area, to find a spot like we found is.
Yeah.
I'm very optimistic about it.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to getting in there with some cameras. And then my goal this year, and not that we're doing goals, but one of my goals just long term is like I want to start to try to kill bucks consistently in October. That's like a thing that I would like to try to do. And I feel like the one spot with that kayak access, I feel like you could kill, if there's a good deer in there, I feel like if there's a good deer in that one spot, you could kill him in the last 2 weeks of September, first week of October.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that I think is something that I'm looking forward to, because I just have this feeling about that place. And there's a couple other places I have that I've earmarked around here that I need to get into and scout once the season comes in, and freelance my way through and see what's doing, because I think there's a couple good setups that are possible in there, and then hunting from the ground will be cool. But I'm of course looking forward to my trip to Missouri.
Yeah,
that's going to be dope. I've never been there, never hunted there.
Yep.
I know like what public chunks I'm going to go to, but I don't really know how I'm going to do it. But
Are we going there at all this summer? Are we gonna visit?
no,
Sweet.
I'm just going in completely blind.
I like it.
I'm just going to trust my my spidey senses and just like make a go of it. Which will be cool. Now the pieces I've kind of earmarked and looked at, we won't dive too deep into this because we'll do another podcast on that at some point, but they all have water, like they all have rivers like running through them and stuff like that. So, and I strategically picked those because I wanted to have pieces that the water cut off part of the public from the other side.
Yep.
Right. To where it's like, it's clear that like people are going to be able to most easily access this part of it. This part of it's going to be hard.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so I did that purposefully, knowing that like that's probably where I'm going to look and prioritize, or like that's where I'll start at least probably. And then Ohio is going to be cool.
Yeah.
Got some very, very
Chad
large
said I
deer.
could come there. I mean, last time I saw Chad, he was like, "Yeah, you should come on out." So I took that as like truth. I'm like, man, you just invited me. You don't really know that, but man, Chad, if you're listening to this, you did invite me. So if I show up,
Chad is a man of his word.
like I'll show up. I got my bow in my hand, and I'll be
let's
go.
You know our rule, right? Chad and I have a rule. Like the new guy in camp does all the cooking.
That's fine, man. I
can
use a microwave.
They're the female dog of the camp. Like, just put it that way. Or the other rule we have is if you make us late to the timber for some reason.
I'm never late, dude. I know
you're not. But my buddy Tate, we made up that rule because we all went out scouting one year, and that rule became, we should just call it the Tate rule, because like the road was ungraded and they had like a bunch of snow and like it was just like super hard and like choppy.
Yeah.
He's driving and his truck was like bouncing and he couldn't, like he was trying to slow down, but he didn't want to jam the brakes. And then as he was turning his wheel, like the car wasn't turning, it was going for the ditch. And he put it in the ditch and then spent like 2 hours trying to get they left me sitting down at the end of the road, like, because they said, we're going to drive up here, we'll turn around.
You're like, what are they doing?
I'm like 2 miles away from him. I'm like, what is going on? I sat there for like 2 hours. I'm like,
at least you didn't have to dig out a truck or whatever.
Yeah, but they had to dig Tate's truck out. And so that was when the rule started, where it was like, all right, if whoever we're with for any reason makes us late to the timber for hunting or scouting, they are now the camp bitch like, for the whole trip. So that's the Tate rule. But
I'm excited this year. I didn't shoot enough deer this last year. I mean,
I know, man. You put a lot of deer down, and I think partially because I remember whenever you missed that deer, that knocked your stuff in the dirt, man. You know what I mean?
Man, like, it's if anyone, I've never. That's the first buck that's ever happened to me. So man, I get it now. I'm in the game. Like I know what it's like. But my family typically eats like 6 to 7 deer in the course of a year, or more. And so like typically I'll shoot upwards of that many deer.
Right.
And this year I shot 5 does. I donated 1 doe because someone was like, oh, so-and-so wants a deer. And I'm like, oh, they can have this one because it's early season. And now I'm like, why did I give away that deer? Because my wife is like, we don't have enough deer. And so actually in March, I got a part of the red tag program here in Pennsylvania and shot a deer on a red tag with my bow, which was really weird, shooting a deer in March. Like, you're like, I'm definitely breaking the law. But you're like, no, actually, I'm not. And then loading a deer on your deer rack behind your car. Like, I was in my wife's car, but she still doesn't have a trunk. So, like, I'm not putting a deer in my wife's car. It's not allowed. Right. So I put it on the deer rack, and I look at my rearview mirror. I'm a stop sign. This lady's taking a picture of me. And I'm like, she is taking a picture of the deer. And I'm like, what is going on? So I shot, my wife's like, you got to go shoot a deer. So I find this red tag program, find a farmer. We know this guy that's got red tags. He's like, yeah, go shoot a doe. So I went out and shot a doe, butchered it up. But we're like not going to have enough deer meat for the first time in like 4 years.
Right.
And I'm not cool with that. I was like, this is not cool. Like, it's not I mean, it is sustainable because we can always go to the store and get meat, but we haven't in 4+ years bought meat.
Right.
The only time I would ever buy meat was like if I was going to smoke a brisket on the grill, you know, like for a special occasion, I would go out. That was the only time.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I got to shoot more does. And then another goal is like every year I try to get somebody their first deer.
Right.
And so like I've gotten my mom her first deer, my good buddy his first deer. Another friend I got their first deer because that's how I got into hunting. Somebody took me. Mm-hmm. And this last year, my sister-in-law got married to a dude in Seattle. Mm-hmm. They live out in Seattle. They came home for Christmas, and I'm like, let's get your deer. You know, so he went and got his mentored license in Pennsylvania. It was super cool. You can get a mentored hunting license. Took him to the spot where we typically take people for the first time. Doe came out 60 yards. He shot it.
Nice.
It died, and he was so bored, like for hours. I'm like, he kept picking the gun up and like holding it and aiming at stuff, which was good. Finally, this doe comes out, and there was like 6 or 7 does, so it could be a little overwhelming. I'm like, just shoot that first one.
Right.
He shoots it, and it drops, but because where the hill was, we couldn't see it. I knew he hit it, and he's like, "Did I get it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you got it." The joy on a first-time hunter's face is very exciting.
Yeah.
I got to help out the Quality Deer Management Association, partnered with the Pennsylvania Game Commission,
Yep.
and I was one of the mentored hunters. We hunted for the first time ever in the city of Philadelphia.
Yep.
So they opened up the John Heinz Wildlife Refuge.
Yep.
They gave us a certain amount of tags, and it was only by draw for mentored hunters. So people that had never hunted before under the mentored program could apply and then be paired with a person like me.
Yep.
To take them hunting in this wildlife refuge next to the airport. Like, talk about crazy. Like, we're hunting.
The planes are taking off.
Literally, planes are taking off. I can see skyscrapers.
Right.
And we killed a bunch of deer. We got first-time hunters killing deer, and these deer did not know what was going on. They're like, "What is happening? Deer are dying!" And like, it is. There was like protesters out in front, like
Jeez.
saying we should be able to walk our dogs. Like, don't kill the animals. But the big shout out, the Quality Deer Management Association did a really good job. The press on it was really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they actually did a nice, I think it was the Inquirer, that they actually did a really nice write-up of it, which was cool.
Yep.
Because, you know, for anyone who, well, you probably don't have to live here to know this, but like, you know, Philadelphia obviously is a pretty liberal place. You know, and a lot of those types of things, especially whenever you're talking about, you know, a city magazine, you know, or a city newspaper, doesn't often write about those things in a great light necessarily all the time, right?
Yep.
So it's nice. It was nice to see that they actually did a good job of covering what it was and what the intent was, and I think there's a little bit more from some of those types of publications that are a little bit more open, especially, I won't go as far as to say that they're hunter friendly, but I feel like they're becoming a little bit more hunter accepted, especially whenever you have those types of programs coming into the city to do things, especially because, you know, Philadelphia is a big food city too. Yeah. And so it has a lot of like that locavore movement, right? And so the city can kind of get behind, or people in the city, I shouldn't even say the city because it's the people, you know, can get behind the idea of people wanting to know where their food comes from and like, be part of like getting their food and stuff like that. Like, that's a big thing. And Philly's has a big, you know, culinary scene, and that's big in the culinary scene. So it makes sense. So I feel like that to a degree helps, you know, if your city is kind of like into those types of things. But
I had to literally sit in rush hour traffic to go hunt.
That's
it was
crazy.
weird. I'm like driving to the city, and I'm like, this is weird.
You're
weird. Driving through downtown,
right,
towards the airport, and then, but it was good. They pre-placed blinds. There's way too many deer in this refuge, like malnourished. They got nothing to eat.
Yeah,
you know? It's like just grass.
And, I mean, there's not food plots.
There's like one oak tree, and we're like, go sit by the oak tree and kill that deer. You know,
right? And they're all coming there if there's acorns.
A girl did shoot
a hammer buck.
Yeah, but they never found it.
Oh, really?
Well, there was one there. There was a really, really big buck that was killed down there.
Okay, I must have seen that.
Another girl, I don't know how. I mean, we searched everywhere, high and low. I mean, for days. We did grid searches on video. She made a great shot. Just never recovered. I think the day I left, the next day they brought in a dog, but I don't know where it could have hidden or gone. But deer, you know, they always amaze you. But
they can hide in the weirdest places.
Yeah, there's some monster deer. Never been hunted ever.
Yeah.
And I think one of the country's first wildlife refuges ever is John Heinz.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
So,
well, it's the birth of the country right here. You know, so it makes sense that it would be the oldest, one of the oldest.
Yeah.
But there's one other thing I wanted to touch on really quick was just, we were talking about trail cameras a minute ago, and I don't even think I've told you this, but I have one camera up in this little suburban spot that I never hunted last year, and I haven't pulled that camera since like mid-October.
Let's go get it.
Yeah, so I'm actually on Saturday. I'm going to get up early because it's one of those places where you're familiar with this, but you got to slip in between some like houses and stuff to get into it and stuff. So it's like I hate going in there like after everyone's up in the morning.
Dress like a bird watcher.
Yeah, well,
khaki shorts, button-up shirt, and big binoculars.
Where I'm walking in, it's not like you definitely ain't watching birds there, you know. So, but I'm gonna go pull it on Saturday. Because I'm curious to see what's on there, and unless there's something big in there, it's like I probably won't ever set foot back in there.
Yeah.
But because I'm kind of getting all my cameras cleaned up and ready to redeploy and move into some of the new areas that I've found.
I gotta update my camera game this week.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to roll. I'm just because, well, I mean, man, it's like we're looking at like the end of May here, man. It's like it's time. It's actually time to like. I was actually thinking about it the other day. I was like, man, it's actually time to get cameras out and
start. June is my month where I put my cameras out.
I usually always do it at end of May because I have a long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's a little early and you can't tell diddly squat for deer at that point for velvet, but it's the one time that I have like a long weekend where I can like get out and get everything out and just make it. That's the weekend I'm going to go put cameras out and get all that stuff out and be good to go. And then, check them in like July, second week of July or right around 4th of July, I might check them. And then after that, it's like I usually let them go until right before the season. It's like maybe I'll slide in and check them. But there's one spot I'm really looking forward to because I'm going to hang a cell camera in the one spot because I'll have to take you there. I'll show you on the map, but it's gnarly. It's hard to get into and it's not going to be a pleasant place to like hike into. Actually, it's going to pretty much suck going in to hunt it. Like, so I'm going to try to avoid going in at all unless I know there's like a really good deer in there. But, well, man, we've been rolling on this thing for like, I don't know, an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, something like that. We can probably wrap this bad boy up. I got to pee really bad too.
Sweet.
So before we wrap this jam up, let folks know where they can find out more about you, follow along with you and all of your hunting adventures.
Instagram is just at Wilson.Mcswain. So link in the bio. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just like saying. I always feel official when I say that. Like link in the bio. I don't know what I'm linking to, but yeah. Wilson.Mcswain is where you'll find my adventures.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you never know on there because like one day I'll be like in Pennsylvania, and the next day I'll be like going to Wyoming.
Man, why don't you DM him and ask him about a piece of property and what those deer are doing on that property and see if you get any intel out of it.
Yeah, anybody ask me anything you want. I'll give you all the right intel.
Right. Awesome, brother. Well, thanks for coming over, man. It's good having a good buddy like you I can still see face-to-face once in a while. I appreciate you coming over.
Yeah, man. Fun times.
All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for listening, and if you haven't yet, please head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And hell, while you're at it, head over to YouTube and give us a subscribe there as well. I'll be super appreciative if you do those couple things for me. And before I shut this thing down, I need to give a big shout out to our partners who continue to help us make this podcast possible. Tethered, Exodus Outdoor Gear, Skull Brew Coffee Company, and Gumleaf USA Boots. And until next time, we'll see y'all.